Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Time with Miss Tracey from First Congregational Church of Webster Groves. Glad you could join me. Our story today is the story of Easter. We're going to read parts of this story to remind us of all the things that happened at Easter time. Easter is a time of rejoicing. It comes in spring when the cold, dark days of winter are over. Birds return to sing. Grass and flowers begin to make a new carpet for the earth. For Christians, Easter Sunday is the greatest holiday of the year. It is a day of joy. It celebrates the resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth, who rose from death to new life many years ago. And this is a picture that shows us how the springtime is blooming and reminds us that's what this is about. New life, plants, flowers, trees. Almost everyone knows something about the life of Jesus. As a boy, he lived in the small town of Nazareth, near the Sea of Galilee, in what is now the northern Israel. When he was about 30 years old, he began teaching and preaching and healing the sick. His fame spread quickly, and soon he had 12 disciples or followers, plus some more because I believe the women were those disciples as well. They went with Jesus and learned from him as he walked through the countryside talking to people. Crowds gathered to hear Jesus preach. Many people began to say that he was the Savior or Messiah they had been waiting for a long time. Jesus talking to the people. Early one spring, Jesus and his disciples walked the long, rough road to Jerusalem to celebrate Passover, the holiday in which Jews celebrate their liberation from slavery in Egypt. Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey. People cheered and waved branches of palm trees to welcome him. They spread palm branches before him. In honor of this, Christians celebrate Palm Sunday, which was last Sunday, the first day of Holy Week. Often palm branches or crosses are made of palm leaves. After that first Palm Sunday, Jesus preached in the outer halls of the great temple at Jerusalem for several days. People crowded around to listen, but he had enemies too. The authorities accused Jesus of breaking laws. They thought he was gaining too much power over the people. And this is a picture of a painting, a drawing of what they supposed Jesus looked like riding in on a donkey. I think Jesus may have been a little more suntan than that, but on Thursday evening, Jesus ate the Passover supper with his 12 disciples. During the meal, he rose from the table, took a basin of water, and began to wash the feet of his disciples. Jesus did this to show that he was willing to be a servant to those who followed him. We now call this meal the Last Supper, and the day Maundy Thursday. For many years, the chief ceremony on Maundy Thursday was washing the feet of poor people. So in honor of the bread and wine that Jesus and his disciples shared at the Passover meal, many Christians celebrate communion on Maundy Thursday, and we will with our church as well. So check out the website because there might be a recipe for communion bread that you can make with your family. After washing the feet of his disciples, Jesus led them to a large garden outside the walls of Jerusalem to spend the night. Toward morning, Judas, one of the 12, led a band of temple guards to the garden, and they seized Jesus. And this is a picture of the communion meal, the Passover meal. This is when communion was started, called the Last Supper, and there Jesus is breaking the bread and passing out the cup. After hearing the authorities found Jesus guilty of stirring up the people and speaking against the things they held sacred, the Roman rulers sentenced him to death by crucifixion, which was common for political prisoners at that time. So Jesus was taken to a hill outside of Jerusalem and put on a cross. Because of the cross, this cross is one of the most important symbols of the Christian religion. This happened on a Friday morning, a day we now call Good Friday or God's Friday. For Christians, it is a day of sadness. Many churches hold a service in the afternoon with short sermons about the last words Jesus spoke from the cross. Before the sun went down on that first Good Friday, friends of Jesus took his lifeless body from the cross. They laid it in a stone tomb and rolled a great stone before the door. We will have an evening service, or on Friday, we will have a service called Stations of the Cross, so you can experience the different stops Jesus made on the way to his crucifixion. And here's a picture of what they think it may have looked like. Notice the women are still there and present and keeping company with Jesus. At sunrise on Sunday morning, Mary Magdalene and 2 other women went to the tomb. The big stone had been rolled away. They looked in the tomb and saw a young man in a white robe. He said, "Do not be amazed. Jesus is risen. He is not here." The women ran to tell the news to the disciples. They remembered then that while they were still in Galilee, Jesus had told them he would be crucified. And he had also told them, "After 3 days I will rise again." This was the 3rd day. On that first Easter Sunday, Jesus appeared to the disciples. He told them to go back to Galilee. He said, "Go into all the world and preach the good news." The disciples understood that Jesus wanted them to spread the good news of the resurrection and to teach others what he had taught them. And that is how the Christian church was started. And here's the angel standing in the doorway of the tomb when the ladies came. The ladies that I consider disciples, because they were told to go tell. And that's what we, as disciples of Jesus, are supposed to do. Go tell the story of Jesus. The date of Easter is not the same from year to year. And most people celebrate the first Sunday after the first full moon in spring. But Orthodox Christians use a different date. They celebrate Easter on the Sunday following Passover. After the Christian religion spread to many lands, the joy of Jesus' resurrection became mingled with the joy of the Spring Festival. Both celebrations stood for new life. And so, some of the new hope springing in the hearts of the people, became part of the celebration of Easter. And so, on Easter Day, there are often Easter egg hunts. Children scurry around to see who can find the most eggs, which have been hidden in the house or garden. Sometimes the eggs are real eggs, and sometimes they are brightly colored candy ones or chocolate eggs wrapped in foil. So, here is a picture of the Easter Bunny hiding some eggs. That is one of the customs that we have that grew up around Easter. In Europe, many people carry on the old custom of taking a walk after church on Easter. They walk through the fields to see the flowers and listen to the birds. In New York City, this old Easter custom has turned into a fashion parade on Fifth Avenue. But this year, with social distancing, I would hope that you would go back to the custom of taking a walk after you see our service online. Go for a walk. Recognize in your own neighborhood the flowers and trees and new life you see. Maybe you will even see some little birds or who knows what. But check out the new life that you see on Easter Day that reminds us of the resurrection. So remember, not all Christian churches, celebrate the same way. And usually you see lilies and flowers in the front of our sanctuary. That's why I want you to realize there are flowers everywhere outside. The church isn't just in this building, the church is also out there. Find your Easter celebration in nature and see Jesus in the sunrise. Or for some of you who don't like to get up early, maybe in the sunset. But it is the joy and celebration of the belief that God's love is stronger than death. And God's love is also stronger than the virus that may separate us this Easter. Never fear. It is Easter, whether we are in this building or not. It is Easter. And for those of you who are wondering, we usually have an Easter egg on the Saturday before Easter Day morning. When we come back together, we will have an Easter egg hunt whenever it is, because every day we can remember that Jesus is alive in the world and all around us. God bless all of you on this Easter day, and have a great Easter. Celebrate with your family, and join us online so that you can worship with others who are social distanced right now, but are still your church family. And if you're new to our church family, you are welcome. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are. Join us. Join us today. Go look on firstchurch.org and you will find us. First Congregational Church of Webster Groves United Church of Christ welcomes everybody to Easter.